All my life, I've always identified as an artist. Art has been my way of understanding the world, a way of expressing myself. And it was always such a fulfilling experience to bring the ideas I had in my head to life. But lately, something changed. It's become difficult to call myself an artist. And the title that once felt so natural to me now seems so foreign. I've been feeling disconnected with my own identity as an artist, and it's been a struggle to even truly see myself as a creative person. So, let's fix that. Hey there, Neddy here. Welcome or welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I've mentioned before how much I've struggled with my mental health in the past few years. And of course, that slowly found its way into my creative practice as well. I got my first real taste of burnout, and honestly, it was horrible. Like I would not wish that on my greatest enemy, would not recommend. I didn't know it at that time, but due to everything I faced and extreme burnout, I actually lost my creative spark. So after that, I decided to kind of take a break from art. It wasn't necessarily intentional at first. The negative feelings and emotions that I kind of associated with my last few terms of art school due to stress and anxiety just happened to affect me. And whenever I would pick up my stylus to draw, it kind of was like, triggered those emotions again. So I found myself stepping back from art, and then I thought, okay, maybe this is for the best. Maybe this is gonna help me relax and get over that burnout. But as time passed on, like a few months after, I started getting worried because I just never really did anything. Like, the more and more I thought about creating art, the more difficult it seemed. So eventually, even though I hated the idea of it, I somehow convinced myself that if art and the idea of making art alone is giving me so much frustration and anxiety, then maybe it's best to let go of art for good. But before I decided to quit trying to make this my career for good, I decided to sit on it for just a bit longer. And I'm so glad I did. Because while sitting on it for a while, I came to a realization. Letting go of art isn't the solution. In fact, it wasn't the act of creating art that brought me so much pain. Rather, the lack of it. And let me explain. The reason that I felt so fulfilled in the past was because I was creating art that I truly loved. Art that made me feel fulfilled while making that artwork. And the major difference between then and now is that I simply stopped doing that. I let my worries of overthinking, trying to impress, stress of school, anxiety, social media, the entertainment industry, I let all that get into the way of my real passion for just simply making art that I want to make. So even though I was technically making art, I wasn't making fulfilling art. And not having that spark and joy from making art that felt fulfilling to me was really what left me feeling down. And the only way to solve that is simply make art for myself again. So now I'm in this turning point where I really need things to change. I've come to realize that I truly miss the feeling of being an artist again, just, getting lost in the creative process and making art and illustrations and sharing it with people and designing characters and coming up with stories. I've been craving to make more of that lately, for myself, not for any deep meaning like finding a career, finding a job, just for me. However, I will admit that the burnout I experienced did leave a huge hole in my creative energy, or creative well, I think is what it's called in the artist way. And even when I try sometimes to make art, despite being excited, it's still kind of difficult. I want to actively try to make an effort to fall back in love with the creative process, fall back in love with creating, and revitalize my creative spark. And in order to do that, I've created a list of things and activities that I'm currently doing and plan on doing to help me fall back in love with art and the creative process. In this video, I want to give a general overview of some of those things, and I plan to share and document each process in more detail in future videos. So the first thing on the list is to reconnect with my past self. As I mentioned already, in the past, I was very passionate about art. Like, I couldn't go a day without creating. I had all this creative energy that I just needed to let out. In order for me to get back to that mindset, I plan to actually try to revisit the things that I did back then. This means going back to things that really inspired me back then, like comics, for example. I used to read a lot of comics and I somehow just stopped because, growing up, I don't know, I have no idea why I stopped. I want to say growing up, I just got more busy, but honestly speaking, you can never be too busy for a good book, right? Reading comics was one of my biggest inspirations. Playing video games, I don't remember the last time I played a video game, and I think going back to revisit some of these hobbies can remind me of why I started in the first place. Seeing all this amazing artwork from artists that I look up to and like to create art like that and tell stories like that. I've already started the process. I got a few new comics. If you see, I borrowed a Diary of a Wimpy Kid comic book from my friend because I was a huge Diary of a Wimpy Kid nerd. I also really loved reading Archie comics, so I got myself an Archie comic, and my boyfriend and roommate also gifted me the Gabriel Piccolo, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, the Teen Titans series he made, because I've always wanted that and I never had the chance to get it. So yeah, I've already started building my little collection of comics. I'm choosing to stay physical, and there's a reason for that, which I'll probably share more thoughts on in the future. But yeah, I highly recommend revisiting your past hobbies. Another thing that I recommend looking back on is your old artwork. This past few months, I've been looking back at my old art, my old sketchbooks in particular. And honestly, it's so fulfilling and rewarding just seeing how far you've come. It kind of reminds you that you're actually making progress. Also, looking back at my old work and just seeing where this entire art journey began kind of reminded me of the reason why I started creating in the first place, because I just lost the sight of all that, and after trying to make this a career and improve my skills and being on this constant rat race with everything going on, it's very easy to lose sight of the original reason that you wanted to create, and you get distracted by all these other external voices telling you what you need to do, what you have to do. But simply looking back at your old artwork, the artwork you made when this wasn't all a big deal, it was just you creating for fun, I feel like I'm channeling some of that original authenticity that I originally had. So the next step is to fill up your creative well, your creative bucket, if you will, whatever you want to call it. But if you've read The Artist's Way, I've read it, I haven't finished it, but she mentions something about the creative well. And think of it like this: your creativity is, in fact, a well, I guess. It's a well full of water, and every time you create or you make something, you take out of that creative well, and if you keep taking out of the well, constantly removing water from that well, it's going to reduce. And if you don't make a conscious effort to fill the well back with water, eventually the well is going to dry up and you're going to be left with nothing to pull. This has been me for the past few years. As I mentioned, I have not been doing anything. I stopped all my artistic hobbies. In fact, I stopped hobbies in general. I hardly went out to touch grass. So the plan here is to pick up a lot more creative hobbies. Reading more comics, like I mentioned, playing video games. I want to pick up sketchbooking again, which is something I used to love doing. And after coming to art school, due to the amount of work I had to do as digitally, I barely did any traditional work in my sketchbook. And I miss just working in my sketchbook. I want to get back to being more consistent with sketchbooking. I've also been consuming a lot more art educational content to work on improving my skills again, getting back to my self-study, watching art tutorials and videos and courses, and trying to get back into that habit of practice and studying. One thing I noticed that in the past, when I was a self-taught artist, I felt a lot of accomplishment simply from achieving things that I didn't know, you know, like being able to draw hair or being able to finally understand the anatomy of the back. All those little milestones, all that kept me pushing and excited to learn more. Don't get me wrong, after coming to art school, I definitely learned so much and my skills definitely improved a lot more, especially since I had feedback from my classmates and instructors. However, I will say that I am one who genuinely finds fulfillment in learning things herself and just being able to focus on a concept and understanding that concept brings me so much joy and fulfillment. Yeah, I just think I need to get back to self-study and get back into kind of like a structure to help me on that, improve my skills. While focusing on filling my creative well with artistic inspirations, it's also good to include a bit of non-art related things in there. I've always been into journaling. If you've been here long enough, then you probably remember some of my very old bullet journal videos. I know there's a huge journaling craze right now, but it's honestly for a valid reason. Journaling really is a very intimate way of self-expression and understanding yourself. I have a mind journal where I write down all my notes. Another type of journaling I enjoy is scrapbooking and junk journaling. I like these type of artsy projects because it's still very much creative and crafty, but a lot less pressure since I don't necessarily have to worry about my artistic skills and the fundamentals. It's literally just me having fun and making pretty things. Next, and honestly the most important thing on this list, if you don't take anything away from this video, please take this. Face your artistic fears. Everything in life, all the reasons why we don't achieve anything or we feel like we don't achieve anything or we don't progress is mainly because we're being held back by something. And 9 out of 10, they're all just fears. Being able to face your fears head on honestly gives you a different level of confidence. Realizing that a lot of reasons why we're too afraid to do things, it's all in our head. Acknowledging that and acting on them. The moment you act on those fears, the moment you like conquer them, that's so cheesy, but the moment you get rid of them, you realize that there's really nothing holding you back from achieving your goals. So I wrote down all my personal fears that I have as an artist concerning my art practice, my art skills, my art career. I wrote them all down in my journal. Fear of not being good enough, fear of failure, fear of disappointing people who look up to me. And these coming months, I plan on facing them head on, tackling them, getting them out of the picture so that I can finally create again. As I mentioned, the only way to move past it is to conquer it. Lastly, I plan to start making projects and just making stuff in general. Working on my own personal projects was always the goal from the very start. I wanted to tell stories, I wanted to make products, I wanted to do so much. But due to all my fears and losing sight of my direction, like I originally mentioned, I kind of fell back on working on personal projects. And this could be anything. This could be like personal art portfolio project or actually like YouTube videos and just creating things that kind of have a deeper meaning to them. To put it simply, I want to make stuff again and share them all with the world to see. I want to make cool stuff, you know? I definitely think that working on your personal projects is one of the easiest ways to like find fulfillment in your creative practices. Whether it's a little mini project that you can finish in a day or in a week, or you know, a long-term project that you take like years or you know, even forever to finish. I think just having something that you're working towards is always so exciting and will definitely help you feel that creative energy again. The key word here is it's something you're passionate about, not something you think you should be doing, not something that someone told you to be doing, but something that you're willing to go through pain for. Because the pain will come, the struggles and the hurdles will show. But if you truly are passionate about that project, you're gonna find yourself pushing through even through all that. So, with all that being said, I am marking this the beginning of a new era. An era dedicated to reigniting my creative spark. Dedicated to making art that truly matters to me. Dedicated to finally putting myself out there. An era of going all in with my art. Of course, I'm aware that this isn't going to be a straightforward journey. I'm well aware of that, trust me. Just like you and everyone out there, I don't have all the answers. And honestly, I'm just making this up as I go and learning along the way. But if there's one thing I'm certain about, if there's one thing I know, I need to keep going. that's the only way to see progress. And in my opinion, little progress is better than no progress at all. So here's to falling back in love with art, falling back in love with creating and revitalizing our creative sparks. If you're on a similar journey, I'd love to hear your experience and what you're trying to do, the habits, the steps that you're taking personally. Please share them down below in the comments. Who knows, you might just have the answer to a fellow struggling artist problem. And yeah, that way we can continue to support and encourage each other on this never-ending quest to become better artists. As I already mentioned earlier, I plan to document and share the entire process here on my YouTube channel. I plan to make dedicated videos going into more detail on each of the steps that I'm taking and how it's working for me, my plans, and maybe advice and what I've learned. For anyone who is in a similar position to hopefully be inspired, motivated, and get something out of it. So if you're interested in tagging along on this new journey, this new era that I'm about to enter, please do consider subscribing to my channel. Expect a lot more from me moving forward. I am so excited. I have so many plans for artworks, products. I'm really just excited to share more of my art journey with you all. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.